I tried to explain to my 4-year-old son that it's perfectly normal to accidentally poop your pants, but he still won't stop making fun of me. What up, YouTube? Let's here. Thanks again for visiting the channel. As always, I appreciate it. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button just for the algorithm. And if you enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Do me a favor, follow me on Instagram, let's_do-it-up, LETS_DOITUP. And if you'd like to send a knife or some knives into the channel for review, just go ahead and send me an email at letsdiu79@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and send you my shipping address. And as soon as I get the knife, I'll carry it around for a week or two, review it, and then send it back to you guys. I'd really appreciate that. And today we're doing a quick review on the legendary Protech Malibu. If you've been in the knife world, for the knife community for more than, a year or so, then you probably already know about this knife. But if you're new to the knife world, this may or may not be a new knife to you. This knife is very, very special because it's pretty much the it's the single knife that kind of started off the whole button lock kick, or plunge lock, depending on how you want to call that. That's not to necessarily say that this was the first button lock in the community to really be successful or anything like that. But this was probably the first button lock to ever not really have any blade play or anything like that, and it's a manual. It's the perfect size for EDC, made by Protech, which is a very, very trusted company with a really good reputation. So this was, it still is a very sought after knife. It's still very difficult to get a hold of this guy. You can still buy certain versions that are really, really expensive, custom versions, stuff like that, stuff with pearl inlays and special handle materials, Damascus blades, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's very difficult to get a hold of this knife still. I actually did find one in the normal configuration, except it's got a milled handle, milled scales on it. It's a little more expensive, but I'll go ahead and link that guy in the description, so you guys can buy that if you'd like to. It's a DLT trading. I'm an idiot. But let's go ahead and do the review real quick. This knife is 7.5 inches overall with a 3.35 inch blade, a 3.25 inch cutting handle, a 3.25 inch cutting edge, and a 4.25, actually just shy of a 4.25 inch handle. Some quick size comparisons compared to the Rat Model 1. The Rat obviously is going to be quite a bit larger, quite a bit longer than the Malibu. The Rat Model 2 is just a hair shorter than the Malibu. The DEMKO knives, the AD20S is obviously going to be quite a bit larger than the Malibu, and the 20.5 is I'd say just about the same length, if not maybe a hair longer than the Malibu. Last but certainly not least, the SPYDERCOs. SPYDERCO Paramilitary 2 is going to be longer than the Malibu, and the Para 3 is going to be just a hair shorter than the Malibu. Carry profile. When the Malibu is closed, you can see that it's going to be shorter than the Paramilitary 2 quite a bit, and it's just a hair shorter than the Para 3. Thickness compared to the Para 3, the Malibu is just going to be a hair thicker than the Para 3. And let's check the height real quick. The Malibu is nowhere near as tall as the Para 3. The blade stock thickness on this guy is 123 thousandths. And we'll get a quick weight on this knife. Get this turned on, see if you guys can see that. Okay. So we're looking at 3.2 ounces on this guy, which is a very lightweight knife for sure. And it's not going to take up a whole hell of a lot of room in the pocket either. So, like I said, this is one of the, the size of this knife is very, very good for everyday carry for most people in the knife community. Some people, such as myself, like to carry bigger knives. Some people like to carry smaller knives. Some people like to carry knives that weigh less than 3 ounces. Everybody has their own preferences, but this one definitely fits into most people's definition of not necessarily perfect, but a very, very good EDC knife size. The blade steel on this guy is S45VN. See if I can get you to see that on the camera here. Let's see if we can get it to focus. There we go. Yep, S45VN and Protech. That's the only billboarding on this knife. So that's pretty good. The blade profile on this guy is a reverse tanto with a flat grind, and it's got a flat that carries out almost all the way to the tip of the knife. It's about, I'd say it's about 85-90% the length of the blade. There is no blade play left, right, up, or down on this guy, and as I said, this was one of the first knives that was made well enough to where there was no blade play whatsoever. A lot of button locks that came before this knife had just a little bit of blade play up and down. It was kind of standard, almost like you have with the Microtech OTFs. You're always going to have just a little bit of blade play with those knives, and that was kind of the case with these button locks. The balance on this knife is just behind the pivot, right where you expect it to be, and the reason for that is you've got this short blade, but you've also got aluminum handles, so there's not a lot of weight in the handles at all. This guy is running on bearings, and you have, unfortunately, in my opinion, T6 hardware all the way around on this knife. The body screws are T6, the pivot screws are T6, and the pocket clip screws are T6 as well, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. You take the good with the bad. That's the only downside with this knife that I've ever really considered. Everything else on the knife is absolutely fantastic. As I've said, you've got aluminum scales here. They come in different colors. Black and blue mostly are the normal colors that they come in, but they also come in OD green. Sometimes they make them in special colors like bronze and stuff like that. But as you go with different finishes and stuff like that, you're going to go into a higher price range on this knife. Excuse me. The pocket clip on this guy is a stainless steel stamped clip. It's got a little bit of pizzazz to it. You've got this hole milled into the center of it, and a little bit of a swoop here, and then it just goes straight. It doesn't come up or anything like that, which is pretty good. It's a decent pocket clip. It comes in and out of the pocket with no problem whatsoever. If you guys are wondering, yes, I did find the pocket clip for this guy just to do the review, so you guys could see what it looks like under normal circumstances. You're welcome. There are no liners on this knife at all, and like I said, this has a button lock or plunge lock operation, which works very, very, very well. As you can see, the action on this guy is absolutely fantastic. It shoots straight out with the flipper tab, which is the only method of deployment for this knife. The lockout is fantastic. As I said, no blade play up, right, left, or down, up, down, left, or right. The D10 is perfectly tuned on this knife for sure. You don't really have to work to get it to come out. You can push button it or light switch it. Either way, it works just fine. The ergonomics on this knife are fantastic. The way they have these handle scales milled, they've got these two little curves here for your fingers, and they fit right in there perfectly. As you can see, I can just barely get a full four-finger grip on this guy, but it is still very, very comfortable. There's no jimping on this knife as far as I can tell, except for maybe back here. I don't know if you would call this jimping or not, but it definitely looks like jimping, and it serves the purpose. It gives you a pretty good grip in the hand there. And there's no hot spots on this knife at all. That pocket clip is perfectly shaped to where you don't really have any hot spots or anything like that when you're really bearing down on this knife. Not that it's a hard use knife or anything like that. I'd call this a light to medium use knife for sure. The price on this guy is starts around $200 to $225 depending on what you're looking at. But as I said, it will go up drastically in price depending on what kind of materials you have on it. The Damascus versions, the custom versions, I've seen those go as high as $6,000 or $7,000. Yes, that's a 6 or 7 with 3 zeros behind it and a comma. That's a little ridiculous for a knife this size, in my opinion, but again, to each their own. Whatever blows your skirt up. I did tell you that they have this at DLT Trading for $290. And it is a reverse tuxedo version with a black coated blade and I think it was a gray handle, aluminum textured handle. The texturing on this guy is kind of like a hash texturing. It looks beautiful, and it also provides meaningful traction to get a good grip on the knife as well. So again, I will link that down in the description for you guys to take a look at if you'd like. So how does this knife make me feel? I like this knife a lot. This was one of the first, this was actually the first knife that I got that was highly sought after and very difficult to get a hold of. Actually, I think I got the second or third drop. I went onto the website and I started to do my payment and everything, and when I got through all the checkout process just before I hit place order, it said this item is no longer available, blah, 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 blah. So I threw a hissy fit, and then I figured what the hell, and I pushed the complete order button anyway, and wouldn't you know it, 4 or 5 days later it came in the mail. So I was quite happy about that. I really was kind of disappointed with the size. Yes, I knew the size of the knife when I bought it, but I was really kind of hoping that I was, crazy and it was going to be a little bit bigger than it actually is. So, but I mean, once I got it in hand and I started using it and deploying the flipper tab and, disengaging with the button lock, it's just such an easy to use knife. It's so user friendly. It's so comfortable. It's a good size to fit in the pocket. It's a good size to carry. As you can see here, I actually did drop this guy on the concrete, which was kind of devastating for me. I was like, no. But it is what it is, especially when you have a knife like this that's a user. So yeah, this has definitely seen some use. It's got some wear on it. But it still works perfectly. I've taken it apart probably 5 or 6 times to clean it and lube it up and everything, and it always goes back together absolutely perfectly with no problem whatsoever. And that's another sign of a good knife, is when it kind of goes back together the way it was supposed to without any serious issues. As you can see here, the button is just a normal button, but like I said, sometimes they put pearl inlays or abalone or something like that in there to make it a little bit more, give it a little bit more character. Like I said, this is just a plain pocket clip, but it works really, really well. It's super comfortable, super easy to use, and it was nice to have a knife that was highly sought after. This is probably the first knife that I have that I had in my collection that was really like a hot knife at the time. It's not quite as popular as it used to be, but as I said, it is still sold out just about everywhere, so it is still kind of hard to get a hold of this knife. But it's a hell of a good knife. I'd say, most people, the vast majority of the people who buy this knife would be more than happy with it to have this in their collection. You really can't go wrong with this knife at all. Such an easy, flipper knife to use, and even for some people who are just getting into the community, this knife I think would serve them very, very well, and it would kind of get them into the community a little further, rather more than just a button lock or more than just a liner lock or something like that. I think kind of the button lock would be the next progression up from the liner lock. But I think that's it for today, guys. I don't really think I have anything else to say about this guy. But if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And stay up, y'all. Take it easy. Bye.